we have Radney Foster here, and I have a question that I love to ask songwriters. Now, as a songwriter, what do you feel is the most important thing to you creatively in the process of going from a blank sheet of paper to a fully fledged song?
Um, a couple of things. One is I think uh, you know, under be willing to let yourself have to uh flounder. You know, if you're whether you're writing by yourself or you're co-writing with somebody else, you have to be vulnerable, especially if you're co-writing with someone else. Be vulnerable enough to go, this may be crap,
Yeah.
but how does this sound? It's like, and so I think that's a part of it. The other is that for me, it's be honor the craft enough that that you really dig in a second and a third time because um Guy Clark, best advice I got from Guy was he said good songs are written, great songs are rewritten,
Hmm.
you know and 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 he would rewrite as he went. And one of my for me, I can talk about accolades of who cut my songs, but the fact that Guy Clark cut a song that me and Bill Lloyd wrote with him,
Hmm. Wow.
that's the mountaintop, man.
Absolutely.
And so it was, I think it's paying attention to that craft. And 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 once you get past the blank sheet of paper and you have the song, I think the next step is not just the song itself, but it's figuring out how to have a delivery that's compelling, you know, and and the you know because there's something, and sometimes that's what it's the space you give it, is the tempo right, is I mean, it's asking all those questions of yourself. And then, like, if you get a chance to go in a studio and work with someone like Pappy, and make a demo of the songs or make an indie record or however you're going to do it. Quincy Jones said, and this is the best advice, Quincy Jones said, always leave enough room for God to walk through the room.
Hmm.
Leave enough room in the arrangement. Like, don't, I mean, you got these great musicians here, let them figure it out. And I, you know, the thing that you know, was always, you knew you had the take in the studio. And this is true of the songwriting on the page. It's kind of like figuring out, it's like, well, this song is finished when the total is greater than the sum of the parts,
Hmm.
you know? And this record's finished when magic just happened. When God walked through the room and something about that take happened and everybody knows it, you know? Um,
Is that what you're
and
searching for? Like for your creative mind, you're searching for that
sure,
end, that finish.
yeah, absolutely. You know, the
Is it always that clear? Like, is the clarity
no,
always?
no, no, it's not. But when it is, you really know it.
Yeah.
You know, there's uh, you can see it on the faces of everybody in the room.
Yeah.
It's like the musicians, they all know. It's like one of the greatest stories about that. And I never got to meet Frank Sinatra. Did meet Paul Anka. Um, uh, but Paul Anka was studying Sinatra. He never had a Sinatra cut, and he was like, he knew that he was looking, and he was gonna, damn it, he was gonna, write a hit song for. And he just thought about it. He said, I'm just gonna write one that's just for Frank's life, you know. And he wrote My Way.
Yep.
And so he takes it to Frank, and Frank was not impressed. Like, it's like, I don't know. And Nancy, his daughter, heard the song and was like, Dad, you should pay attention to that. You should think you might want to cut that with I know you're going in with some other songs too, but you might want to cut that. And so they go into, Studio A at Capitol Records in Los Angeles, which Lord, I hope is still there. Um, uh, and they got the whole orchestra, right? It's a rock band, but the whole string section, horn sections, everything, And so Frank gets up to sing. He sings the song The First Take, and the whole orchestra is quiet at the end so that they have dead air, and then the entire orchestra gives Frank a standing ovation.
Wow.
And walks into the control room, looks at Paul Anka and said, "I guess you were right about that one, kid."
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is that that's a one take,
Hmm.
and it's the first take. So, but everyone in the room knew that was magic. And I don't know if you're not a Sinatra fan, go listen to that song, and you will be by him, and you will be at the end of it.
Now, the rumor is that My Way was the only song in history to be on hold by Frank Sinatra and Elvis Presley at the same time.
I could believe that.
Yeah.
I could believe that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a good song when you got names like that involved, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You got Frank and you got Elvis.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
What's you talked a little bit about the studio. What is the difference creatively for you between songwriting and producing?
Um, when I'm making my own records, it's a Radney Foster record.
Hmm.
And when I'm making somebody else's record, I'm trying to help them make their record. It's like Rodney Crowell gave me the greatest advice. He said, just remember when you're doing this. He said two things to me. He said, because he'd heard that I'd gotten this uh, uh, gig producing a record for somebody, and he's done that very same thing.
Hmm.
He's been multiple times of record producer for other people, and yet his own artist as well. And he said, number one, don't stop making records. He said, because I heard your last one and it's really, really effing good. And he said, so don't let that get in the way. He said, but when you're making them, because I asked him some advice about stuff like that, and he gave me some that was kind of technical, which was really good. But he said, just remember that their name goes really big on the front of the record, and your name goes really small on the back of the record. Yeah, and I
So
was
you
like,
have to put yourself in their mind space, essentially, right?
that's right. And
Yeah.
you and let them figure out, how. And some of it is just like leading them to a place that is like Quincy said, just giving space for magic to happen, for God to walk through the room. And um sometimes and there's it's being an emotional coach. Uh, you can sometimes it's like if it's a rocker and a band's just not on top of it enough, make them mad.
Yeah.
You know, it's like all of a sudden he gets like that Radney Foster is not gonna we're gonna frack us. And then you get through it and you go, how's that sound, guys? They go,
That's great.
and but other times it's like it's really less about um you get through with you know it's kind of just guiding people because uh you know you could have a really cool guitar part, but it's getting in the way of the singer,
Hmm.
and everything's about the singer in the song.
Yeah, I've heard
you
that
know
so much on songs where the instrumentation is taking away from the delivery.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like uh, I mean, Will Kimbrough, when I always thought this was uh when we were cutting, and it was on Belmont and Sixth, which you mentioned.
Hmm.
So I'm in the control room and I play that song for the band because they've all got a chart and a lyric sheet, and because Will was like, I'm not going to play demos for them. You're gonna have to play. You got to play. You're gonna play it for him. You know. And I was like, okay, great. And so I go in and play that, and he said, "Gentlemen, our job is to stay completely out of the way of that."
Wow.
And that's like smart advice, right?
Hmm.
So, and if you go back and listen to how sparse, you know, that song is delivered, and yet how powerful, and it's a that was a really, really good advice to a bunch of phenomenal
Yeah,
players, you know.
once again, it shows the magic of the human element, right? Like it's just,
Right.
yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
That's the best part for me. Like I'm not a songwriter or a musician, but I've been in the studio a lot watching other folks do their thing,
Sure.
and just man, you can't replicate what humans can do um, by
Oh yeah.
themselves. You know, without technology, without whatever. Just that human element is so
Well,
important.
I think right, and sometimes it's like, um, it's. I think your job as a producer is to kind of let go of all of your like. I can walk in with a bunch of preconceived notions about how I want this song to go, but then uh, there are countless times in records that something that they thought a guy thought was a mistake
Yep.
that the producer and myself included, I come running in there like that's not a mistake. That's a
Yep.
feature, not a glitch. Do that again. And everybody that was doing what you thought what I said you might want to do, forget everything I said and do what he's doing.
Yep.
You know, or do what she's doing. You know,
There's
that's not.
dozens of hits from back in the day where you can hear people sniffling and coughing and
Oh yeah, oh
like
yeah,
like if
yeah.
you really put your headphones on and listen to some of those productions from back then, and they're perfect. Like they're
Oh
absolutely
yeah.
perfect, even with those the
Oh,
character, right?
old time rock and roll is like bang, 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 bang. And then you can even hear the drummer or the piano player, whoever it was. I mean, I'm sure they tried to mute it.
Hmm.
You can just barely hear it because it's bleeding through. It's like, no, 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 man, let me have another one. And so,
Hmm.
so it's like, oh yeah, we'll start the song over again. So
Yep.
they did bang, 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 and then
There's a
they heard it
lot
and
of
we're like, oh no,
yeah.
do it twice.
There's a lot of
Yeah,
instances
there it
like
goes.
that, man, from back in the day, and
Sure.
I love that. Radney, I got a few more for you. We're gonna have a little bit more fun with these next few questions, um,
Alrighty.
and I'm gonna try to get you out of here by 5, which is in about 12 minutes. I know you have something else going on.
I just
So
got another one of this kind of another interviews.
yeah, busy,
Just,
busy. Again, I can't thank you enough for your time
oh,
today,
you're very
and
welcome, man.
I'm looking forward to the show in a couple weeks too. Hopefully, I'll get to meet you and take a picture and
Oh yeah,
stuff.
I'd love to.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So